Hello, welcome to your favorite bookish podcast, Fully Booked and Caffeinated. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Heather.
And today we will be discussing and reviewing Lone Women by Victor Lavalle. As usual, let's talk about our fuel for this discussion. What are you drinking, Heather?
I'm hydrating currently, but today I got the cold brew from Dunkin', my huge. Mm-hmm. And then at work today, we actually got some Starbucks K-Cups. So I actually made a vanilla Starbucks K-Cup at work today.
Okay. Little afternoon pick-me-up.
Yeah, exactly. So, my usual,
I'm, right now I'm drinking red wine. It's actually sangria. But, so red wine is Jesus's wine of choice. And if anyone is listening to this, that means that you didn't get swooped up in the rapture, because we're recording this on Monday, but it comes out on Thursday. Anyway, so we're preparing. But aside from that, yesterday before book club, I went to the Crave Cafe right by my house and got all delicious gluten-free treats. I don't even like carrot cake cupcakes, and those carrot cake cupcakes...
That's going to be like my new obsession, and anytime you're going to see me, I need you to bring me one.
Oh,
it's going to be a requirement.
And it had that... I could have bathed in that brown sugar frosting.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Oh my God. And I spent a freaking fortune on these gluten-free treats. Half of them were worth it. Anyway, not the point. I also got a coffee, and I got they have their seasonal coffees. I got a butter pecan maple iced latte.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Which was delicious. I thought it was going to be too sweet, but actually the flavor was not that crazy at all. Like it was, nice. It just tasted like a normal flavored latte. So it was very good. I'm happy with it.
Good.
And I got oat milk, and it was delish. And I drank it on the way to book club. And then I had 2 beers at book club. And then I came home and I was like, wow, I really need to hydrate with some water. So I had a glass of wine.
That makes sense to me.
So that's how we're doing it. Anyway, cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So Victor Lavalle has a few short story collections, novellas, graphic novels, and 5 major novels. His novel, The Changeling, has been adapted to a TV series, which is on Apple TV. He's received a bunch of awards for his writing, including the World Fantasy Award, British Fantasy Award, Bram Stoker Award, Shirley Jackson Award, and the key to Southeast Queens, where he was raised. So that's fun. He still lives in New York with his wife. They live in the Bronx now. And his wife is also a writer, and her name is Emily Raboteau, who, from her website bio, says that she writes at the intersection of social and environmental justice, race, climate change, public art, and parenthood. So... thanks, Victor. I think I want to check out your wife's books.
I know, right?
I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Adding hers. Yeah, exactly. He also is very open about his own mental health journey. His family has a history of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And he has also struggled with disordered eating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so writing has been his way. That's interesting.
You never have like a man admit that.
I know. He actually defines it as like he had an obsession with food.
Wow.
And so he struggles with like his weight and his like view of food and stuff. So yeah, that's why I really like that he's open about that for that exact reason. Because men,
don't.
It is even more of a stigma for men than it is for women. So writing has been his way to explore these things and focus his mind on something positive, which we love.
Yeah.
So for our book, here is our summary. Adelaide Henry carries an enormous steamer trunk with her wherever she goes. It's locked at all times, because when the trunk opens, people around Adelaide start to disappear. The year is 1915, and Adelaide is in trouble. Her secret sin killed her parents, forcing her to flee California in a hellfire rush and make her way to Montana as a homesteader. Dragging the trunk with her at every stop, she will become one of the lone women, taking advantage of the government's offer of free land for those who can tame it. Except that Adelaide isn't alone, and the secret she's tried so desperately to lock away might be the only thing that will help her survive the harsh territory. Crafted by a modern master of magical suspense, Lone Women blends shimmering prose, an unforgettable cast of adventurers who find horror and sisterhood in a brutal landscape, and a portrait of early 20th century America like you've never seen. And at its heart is the gripping story of a woman desperate to bury her past or redeem it. That's setting us up. Okay. Okay, Adelaide. So we open with Adelaide and her parents, Glenville and Eleanor. And Adelaide is in the process of burning her parents' dead bodies and lighting her house on fire. Mm-hmm. Which is a wild way.
Great start.
I know. I was like, oh, damn, we're in for it. Let's go.
Yeah.
So she's clearly escaping something. And as we heard in the summary, she's heading to Montana because of a homesteading article she read. And we're set in 1915, so obviously we know that it's very hard for women to do anything, especially single women.
Especially single Black women.
Yeah, like she's got everything working against her. So this is an opportunity for anyone to move out to Montana and basically prove that they can take care of a plot of land, and if they can, it will officially become theirs. Which, even though they're kind of setting these people up for failure because this land is untamable, it is such an amazing concept. So Adelaide sets off on her journey, and every man she encounters is sucking, just being awful.
Yes.
But she persists.
She does.
And she is quote unquote on the run, but is not acting that way.
No.
Because she's out here giving her real name, giving all her information to anyone who asks. And then afterwards she's like, oh, I probably should have lied.
Yeah. She realizes the error of her ways.
Yeah. I feel like this would be you if you're running away.
Yes.
It's like someone asked me, like, oh, Heather, oh, shit. And
100%.
I'd be like, Heather, what the fuck?
Relatable.
Yeah. But anyway, the most notable thing about her traveling is that she has an extremely heavy trunk that none of the men and even their horses can lift.
And I'm like, okay, so how does she carry this thing around?
Oh, she is throwing this thing around like a sack of potatoes.
Well, I mean, they do kind of, he does kind of allude that she's like jacked.
Okay, yes. That's literally my next point is that she is very large, very sturdy, and very strong. Like she's like 6 feet tall.
She's probably like
she's broad shouldered.
She's probably you probably never saw Encanto from Disney, but there's like the one lady who can like lift like anything heavy.
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, so she's like the equivalent, I think, of that character.
Yeah, and it is mentioned several times about her stature.
Not in a bad way, though.
No,
like,
not at all.
It's never painted in a negative light, which I like. They're just saying, like, she can fucking kill you if she must.
And it is specifically pointed out that she needs to help all of these weak men around her, which we love.
Agreed.
And in her travels, she is with a mother named Mrs. Mudge and her 4 blind sons, who are very sketchy and rude, but also just disappear. Yeah. And we never get answers to where or why, by the way. But stay tuned. They'll come back. So she finally gets to Montana, and her plot of land is near a town called Big Sandy, which isn't big, but it is a town. And basically all of the plots of land are just miles and miles away from each other in this big, expansive, open landscape. But somehow that doesn't stop the rumor mill. And news of Adelaide's presence travels fast. So her first real friend is Grace, who has a young, rambunctious son named Sam. And their first meeting is kind of icy, and Grace is judgmental. But they both warm to each other and realize that they're basically just desperate for a friend.
Yes.
And that they have a lot more in common than they would ever think. So before long, this shocked me, but there's just tons of people coming all the time to Adelaide's house to help her, hang out with her, invite her for a night out, a meal out.
I know. I was like, I liked it, but I wasn't expecting it, considering that she was like a single Black woman. I thought that there was going to be a lot of like animosity and, you know, racism, and there really wasn't. And I'm like, oh, this is actually nice. Like, I'm glad that they're actually...
Throughout all of this, Adelaide is very conscious of the fact that she's not like these other people because they're all white and she's not. Yes. But we never hear anyone else commenting on it.
No.
Which is great.
it's a fresh breath of air.
It is. And, we'll get to the racism, but
it's not
in
pointedly
this.
directly at her. Yeah.
Yes. So Matthew is her favorite cowboy. She's got a little crush on him.
He's like 22.
Yeah.
He's like a youngin'. he's a young buck.
But that doesn't stop her because she has Matthew over and they bang.
Yeah.
And somehow her trunk gets opened in the night and the creature within, aka her family curse, attacks Matthew, almost kills him. But she is able to wrestle the creature back into her trunk, and it's very obvious that this is not her first time having to wrangle the creature. She has techniques. She's the only one who isn't hurt by the scales covering the creature's body, and she basically, her internal monologue as she's wrestling it is like, yeah, well, I've learned that you've got to hold it this way, and you've got to do this, and blah, blah, blah. So, quick break to talk about the creature. It's covered in tiny scales, which are kind of like armor, but also hurt to the touch. It also has paws and barks like a dog. And it has wings like a pterodactyl, and apparently it can fly in the Montana wind. The surprises never stop coming.
No.
So after Matthew is viciously attacked, Adelaide thinks about killing him, which she obviously should have, because no one would have even known. But she nurses him back to health and hopes that she can gaslight him into thinking that the creature was a hallucination. And at first, it seems like she succeeds.
Yes.
But more on that later. Also, turns out the Mudges aren't dead. But
no. This plot twist took me. I was like, oh, did not see this one coming.
Well, it's like you knew that they had to come back somehow.
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting it to be like this.
No, definitely not. So Mrs. Mudge changed her name and is pretending to be a widow, a childless widow. But her and her bandit boys are professional crooks. And they're just scheming all over the United States.
And they are, in fact, not blind.
Not blind at all. And their latest target is Montana, specifically Adelaide. So they almost kill Sam and Grace.
Yeah.
But Adelaide gets there in time to save them. And it's just very sad. They lock Sam in the storm cellar. And he's like, they took my shoes. It's just so sad. But after they're all healed up and go to the hospital, whatever, Adelaide gets back home and the creature is just hanging out inside her house, out of the trunk. And it's so funny because she's just so sick of its shit that she's like, I'm going to take a nap. Okay. You stay over there. I'm tired.
Yeah, literally.
She is physically tired and also psychologically tired of this burden.
Yeah.
And basically she says, there's not much to fear when you wouldn't mind dying.
Yeah.
Which is such a real thing.
It is, 100%.
It's like people who have nothing to lose are the people you got to be afraid of, But the Mudges show up to kill Adelaide. And the creature does a little guard dog behavior. And kills 2 of the boys and their horses and then disappears into the night. And Adelaide is faced with a moral dilemma. Let's be clear, she couldn't chase this creature down even if she tried. Because it can fly now.
Yeah.
She definitely didn't know it could fly. That's a new thing. But she knows that it will be out there wreaking havoc. And she can't help being relieved.
Exactly. Because it's kind of almost no longer her responsibility. And no one necessarily knows that it stems from her. Except for Matthew.
And in the back of her mind, she is thinking about it, and it does keep nagging at her. But like you said, there's nothing she can do about it. There's no way to tie it back to her, and she wouldn't be able to find even if she could.
No. Montana is very, it's rural, and it's very widespread. What is she going to do?
All she has is Obadiah, her old horse,
who I love.
And like I said, the creature can fly, so you can't compete with that. After this, events start to jump around and get a little crazy, and we meet a lot more characters, so just stick with me. Mrs. Reed is the richest woman in Big Sandy. She does some presentations at the Opera House in town, which is so 1915, and she shares tales of women in the news who have persevered and also women in the town and what they're up to, which is really cool. And Mrs. Reed sucks.
Yeah.
But she does have a good quote that I wrote down. She says, "History is simple. Men take everything that happened and try to make a story out of it. When the tale becomes too complicated, they just leave things out."
Mm-hmm.
And that's how women get left out, obviously.
Yes.
So we also meet Birdie, who is the only other Black woman in this community. And she has really made a name for herself, especially with the men in town, because she makes her own liquor. And she has a little saloon type thing in her home where people can come and drink and play cards. And she always takes care of people. She's also in a queer relationship with a Chinese woman named Fiona.
Yes.
Which was not on my bingo card.
No, me either.
I liked it. So then we jump back over to Adelaide, who drops the bomb that the monster is actually her sister Elizabeth and was born from her mother's womb directly after her. The midwife tried to kill the baby immediately, but the father stopped her because it was his kin, and he's like, "No problem, we'll handle this demon."
Yeah.
And Adelaide flashes back to the night her parents died. They were going to the barn, and she could see they were resolute. They were going to kill Elizabeth. And they were both killed. And Adelaide has some guilt around not going to help them or save them, but realistically, she never could have done anything.
No, and her hope was that they all killed each other. She just wanted to be ridden of
free of
the burden of this entire family.
Mm-hmm. What did you think of the reveal of Elizabeth?
I mean, it makes sense. Because I'm why else would there be this curse? And so I think her being the sister is probably the smartest move. Yeah,
you definitely knew that, because it is said before this that the curse came to them the day that Adelaide came.
Yeah, and I feel from even before the reveal of her being the sister, you could tell that she was a part of Adelaide, it felt like. In some kind of aspect.
Yeah, and you don't know the extent because the way they worded it first makes it sound like she was born and then a stork dropped a package on the front step.
That was kind of how they definitely how they made it sound originally.
Yeah. And then it was just assumed that because it happened at the same time that the curse was because of Adelaide. So that was the connection. Mm-hmm. But actually this baby was birthed from her mother. Which is
insane.
And apparently happens a lot. We'll get there. So then we have a separate storyline with Joab, who is one of the remaining Mudge boys, and he's gaining favor with Mr. Reed. He lies about who killed his mother and his brothers, and he blames it on some transient thieves. And this is where we meet the Vengeance Mob. The Stranglers.
These weird-ass men.
And they gave themselves a group name.
Yeah.
Okay, boys. Led by Mr. Reed, who, let's not forget, is the most powerful man in this community. Yeah. Because he is the richest. Mm-hmm. So Joab continues to prove his loyalty and kills his own brother.
Yeah.
He has the Mudge mentality to do anything to survive, coupled with his lack of family and lack of father figure. So he does want to be accepted by Mr. Reed, not only because he knows that it will be good for him financially and, to get set up in Montana. And now he doesn't have the rest of his family, but also because he does crave family who actually value him.
Yeah.
Because even though it's obvious that the brothers and the mom all loved each other, they were running a business.
Yeah, it wasn't really... It was more of a way of survival.
Yeah, they would have sacrificed each other if they had to survive. So it wasn't necessarily unconditional love. So the Reeds also had a child that was a monster.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, this apparently happens a lot. And so Mr. Reed did what Adelaide's dad couldn't do and killed the baby. And they're totally okay with this decision. Like, they're like, that was the right decision. Duh.
Yeah.
But now they're kind of trying to create a new family. So they have Joab, and then they decide they're going to kidnap Sam and steal him from Grace.
Yeah.
But Sam is actually a girl.
Mm-hmm.
What relevance does this have?
Due to, like, the different themes throughout the book, I just think that there's a lot of acceptance of certain hot topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this was just kind of another hot topic to show acceptance of.
Yes, and I feel like there is a bigger meaning that we're missing because it just seemed so glazed over. But
yeah,
I got from that this is the reason that no one lets Grace teach all the children. Like,
yes, because they're probably thinking that she's it's very, very common right now with what we're dealing with in, like, the current political climate, that she's going to try to make all kids, change them, and
they're going to have
make them into transgender.
Workshops.
Yeah, no. Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Actually, now that you say that, I didn't even think about that. And that actually, I think, is the perfect example of why she can't teach in town, because she allows her daughter to identify as a boy.
Yeah, and they refer to Grace not being able to teach several times throughout the book, and it's just kind of hinted at, like, it's because Sam is so misbehaved and, like, so hard to control, kind of, or so, like, rambunctious, whatever. But the fact is, it's really because of what Grace stands for, and it is that acceptance, and the other people in the community see that as going against everything they believe. Like you said, this is very in line with our current climate. Anyway, so meanwhile, we also have Adelaide tracking down her sister, and she finds Elizabeth and kind of accepts her fate and is like, okay, you can kill me now. But she basically apologizes to Elizabeth. And understandably, Adelaide is resentful that her whole childhood was centered around Elizabeth. Because she obviously couldn't have a normal childhood because her sister was a handful. Yeah. But she realizes now that she neglected her sister and how Elizabeth must have been feeling throughout their childhood. And she was so clouded by her resentment that she never thought about her sister's perspective. Yeah. And then we cut to our grand finale, in which Mrs. Reed has all of the remaining members of the community to the opera house, and the Stranglers are revealed. They have... Oh, and no one seems shocked. So, like, everyone knew that Stranglers existed. Yeah. But they have Grace, Fiona, and Bertie on stage to be hanged. But the doors open, and Adelaide stumbles in, and turns out it's actually Elizabeth, and I guess she morphed from her full monster form, because apparently the resemblance is uncanny between the twins.
Okay. I don't know.
Is that what you got from that?
No.
Did you think it was Adelaide coming in?
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth was behind her?
Maybe.
Okay, that's what I originally thought, but then there's a part where they say they had just met Elizabeth. Like, at the end of that. So I don't know if that meant that Elizabeth, like, came sneaking up behind her, or if this was actually Elizabeth. It's unclear.
I can't remember. Yeah.
It's unclear. Because I specifically was like, I am confused. So we don't actually get a description of what happens next, unfortunately. But what we can gather from the aftermath is that Elizabeth let some people escape. Then she completely massacred the remaining people. Yeah. Including the Reeds and the other Stranglers. And I mean, this actually was reminiscent of the scene in The Weight of Blood that we read.
I felt the same exact way.
Where there's limbs everywhere.
Same exact thing. Yeah.
There's blood, like, everything is covered in blood. So, despite the Reeds being dead, Adelaide, Bertie, Fiona, Grace, Sam, and Elizabeth know they have to get the hell out of town before news spreads of what happened. And they don't go far. They journey to another region of Montana and have their own little community where they all live happily ever after, allegedly. So, my first question is Elizabeth a human now? Like, did Adelaide's apology humanize her?
I think she's still a monster, but I think that she clearly has empathy. So I guess maybe Adelaide's acceptance of Elizabeth is able to transform her in that aspect.
And kind of get her back in touch with her identity a little bit.
Because I really, really liked that. It was just... Because what was it? I forget who it was. There was a part where they, like, presented a human with... Oh, it was Joab. When, like, they presented him, and then Sam was like, no, like, you need to, like, let him live. And Elizabeth was like, okay. You know, because she was basically killing anyone that wasn't a part of, like, their tribe. And so it was, like, an interesting thing that, like, she was able to kind of... just be like, all right, I'll let you live.
Yeah, so that's the part that it kind of leaves up to interpretation. Like, was she able to have this identity the whole time and her parents just didn't respect that and didn't...
Well, I mean, she was caged. She was caged the entirety of
like
her,
an animal, so she acted like
life.
an animal.
So how can she know otherwise? So I think that this little bout of freedom that she had, I'm sure kind of opened up all new avenues for her.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a combination, and that's what I think is left up to the reader of, you know, yes, she was always capable of this, but like you said, the acceptance and Adelaide's apology and her humanizing her let her get in touch with that again.
And then there's also all the women who kind of just immediately accept her as well. Like, there's no necessary, like, fear. So
well, yeah, that's a thing that I didn't even get into, but there is a part where Adelaide confesses to Bertie and Fiona and Grace, and Bertie's first reaction is, your poor sister.
Yeah.
Like, how could you guys do this to your poor sister? Because she doesn't believe that the sister is an actual creature, monster. And then when she sees Elizabeth, she's like, oh, holy shit, I didn't realize this was real. But she still is leading with that empathy.
Yes.
So that's a really good point. All right, so I got a lot of discussion questions. The first is a phrase that's repeated several times in this book. A woman is a mule. So this is obviously about the burden that women carry. I mean, this is society's expectation of women, of mothers, of sisters, of daughters, wives, etc., etc. It's a woman's role to bear the burdens of everyone around them and to stubbornly keep going, just like a mule, but also to get little to no recognition for carrying that burden because it's expected. And in Adelaide's family specifically, they taught her that a woman's role is to basically do everything.
Yes.
The man gets recognition for keeping the farm running, but when he wasn't able or he was away from home, the mom and Adelaide had to keep it going on top of their womanly home duties.
Yeah.
And then there's also the burden that children carry. So the steamer trunk is symbolic of this weight that Adelaide is carrying and dragging around with her, and that she's had to be conditioned to be able to carry.
Yeah.
And when the monster escapes, she has that weight finally lifted. And she has not only that responsibility lifted from her, but also that guilt that we now know is like because it's her sister.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, she didn't choose this life. Her parents definitely put a lot of pressure on her. Her dad told her that her stature and skill were given to her by God to handle the burden thrust upon them. And even as a child, she tried to see her sister. She tried to visit her and read to her. And the mother forbade it. And those were the only times that she beat Adelaide. And yes, this is obviously for her protection, but it reinforced this idea of control and deepened the divide and the separation between the sisters. So, of course, Adelaide of course, she's resentful of Elizabeth, and of course, she looks at her as more of an enemy than a twin sister. Which also brings me to the next theme, which is companionship. And in that, sharing your burden with others. So obviously the lone women in our story are alone, obviously. So they find companionship with one another. They help each other in times of need. They confess their secrets to each other. Not all of them, mind you. Adelaide's the only one really sharing.
Yeah, I know.
But they do share those secrets. They acknowledge that it's a weight off their shoulders. And we know this. I mean, we have our group of girlfriends who are all strong and smart and amazing, and we share things with each other, and we trust each other to help us shoulder our emotional baggage.
Yes, 100%.
And that's why not only do we feel comfortable enough to share with each other, but we help each other carry those burdens.
Yes.
It's also why we go to therapy, to have someone impartial to share our emotional burdens with in order to lighten our load a little bit. Because on top of our traumas and our issues, specifically, our personal to us, we have that burden of being women in society, of having all the expectations of the world on our shoulders, of being held to a completely different standard than men.
Yeah.
Now, we also have a loose theme about redemption. So we're definitely meant to feel that Adelaide has been redeemed and that Elizabeth has forgiven her. Because in the past, Elizabeth would attack her or hurt her, and now
they're besties.
They're sisters. But also Joab.
Yes.
So he was redeemed because Sam wanted to spare him.
Yeah.
Simply by Sam showing him newspaper clippings. This went over my head.
I think it was probably more of like a... I forget Sam's age. Do we know Sam's age?
I think he was like 8, but
So I feel like while he definitely has like the attitude and personality of like a young child, I think that he was very emotionally mature, because I think that there's a lot that has happened to him throughout his life, and the fact that he's already went through that realization of recognizing that he relates more to being a different gender. And so I think that he probably can just sense that like Joab has gone through similar trials and tribulations in his life, and that I think he just wants to give him the chance to, because there was this whole I really liked the conversation that they had about like seeing the world. And then like you get like that little piece of Joab's future where he's like, wow, like I got to like see the world. So I think that I think Sam is just a kid, and he just has a good heart, and that he just wanted to allow this kid who's kind of had like a shit life, maybe try to redeem himself. And he did, realistically. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. I didn't kind of think it through that fully, that all Joab knows is this life that his mom created for him, this life of crime and taking advantage of people and hurting people. And
yeah, because they weren't even all related, the Mudges. Like they were just, I think they were.
Oh, really?
I think that was a part, like they're not actually like
blood related.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a band of brothers that was created, and that she was just kind of like the monarch, and was the one that kind of steamrolled everything. Okay. So yeah, I don't think that they were all actually, I could be wrong, but I feel like that was something I read.
Okay. Yeah. So he only has this very narrow scope of the world, and his mindset is do anything to survive, do anything, like, step on whoever you have to who's in your
Yes.
way. And I think Sam being so curious was definitely what, because I don't think Joab ever realized, oh, wait, I can be curious. I can have goals.
Yeah,
I can have
Mhm.
dreams to travel.
Yeah, like that was, he just kind of always felt like it was his back against the world. So,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I also totally agree with what you said about Sam. He was forced to grow up so early because Grace relied on him a lot. I mean, it was just the two of them, and they're in this, you know, very hard situation.
Like, you know, she murdered the dad, so I mean, it's just, you know, he's been
and he
through
knows
a lot of
about
trauma.
it.
Yeah, so he's definitely been through like a lot of his own trauma.
And you could tell that she also relies on him for emotional stability.
Yeah,
like they're very attached to each other, and that's like even when Sam starts to grow close to Adelaide is kind of like, oh no, is Grace going to be okay with this? Because they're so close. And Grace is okay with it because at the end of the day, Grace wants Sam to be happy.
Yeah.
Point
like
blank.
Grace is like a really fucking good mom. She
100%.
is just hands down, you know, because it's like you kind of get like the you get a really good contrast and comparison of Grace to Mrs. Reed, because you have Grace who's allowing her child to be whoever he wants to be, and then you have Mrs. Reed who is forcing Sam to put on a dress because he's a girl, and so therefore he needs to wear what a girl would wear. And so you have, again, like it's so prevalent to like today's times of like you have like these conservative parents who try to mold their child into what they think they should be. And instead of like letting them just fucking be a kid and let them like explore themselves and then come to their own conclusion of who they are, which, you know, in return just fucks them up more when you're trying to force your child to be something you think that they should be instead of allowing them to discover things on their own. And you have Grace who's like, all right, yeah, you want to like be a boy, like then fucking be a boy. Like, okay, like, you know, it's just it's just like a crazy thing that,
and
you know.
100% agree. And Grace is also the only person in this town who has probably ever stood up to Mrs. Reed. And the second that Mrs. Reed steps to her, she slaps the shit out of her.
Yeah, and especially when she even like kind of makes any kind of nefarious comment about her child as well. Like she becomes a very protective mama bear.
She 100%. She is
like,
the mama bear and strikes. You know? And like she knows that reacting to Mrs. Reed will ruin her life because that is who is in charge of this community. But she does not give a fuck. She's
no,
like,
she doesn't.
And she even says at one point, I don't remember the exact words, but she says like, if anyone is going to expect me to choose someone over my son,
loved that.
You are fucking mistaken.
I loved that.
Yeah, like she's this kind of, she is like a little judgmental, and she is a little, you know, like she cares about decorum and manners and blah, blah, blah. But then when it comes down to it, she's like, no, there's one thing you don't fuck with, and that's my kid.
Yeah, and that's like just like the sign of like a good mom, because she's trying to teach her child like you know, like the decorum and the correct way to act in society and how to be. But if someone steps out of line and judges her child or makes them feel less than, she's gonna, you know, be like, no, never mind. Like,
and not for nothing, she already knows, not only because of the times and because they live in Montana and because all these other things, she knows that Sam is going to have a very hard life because of them, because her being a single mother, because he is being himself, and obviously other people know and are looking down on that and have their own opinions of that. And so I think that she is so determined to show Sam that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, and I will fight anyone who disagrees.
Yes.
So I do love that. Also, the location is a character in this book. So we talked a little bit about this in Spells for Forgetting. Remember how the island was like its own character? Yeah. So the harshness of the winters, the desolation of the landscape, the wind is basically its own character.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And there's so much talk of survival, of course, but also about community. which we see how that ends up with the Stranglers, which brings me to my next point of groupthink, which we just talked about in The Wizard of Oz. But the community is all about helping each other and strength through perseverance and really acknowledging that they're the best of the best. They're the ones who are going to make it through the harsh winters. They're the ones who didn't bow out when things were going to get difficult. And, you know, they want to support each other's businesses. But not only are they horribly racist, especially with the laundry business specifically.
Yeah.
They're taking the law into their own hands. The Stranglers determine who is allowed to be a part of this community and who is not. And who needs to be dealt with and how they're going to be dealt with. And it's so toxic already, but the fact that it is such an isolated and small community, there is no escape. There's nowhere to hide. There's no way to get around these people, basically. And so you either have to get them to like you, or you're going to have a real tough life.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about the racism, obviously, against Blacks, Asians, and Indigenous people.
Yeah.
They really covered it all.
Yeah.
And we had talked about this a little bit off the pod, but I did like that the racism wasn't portrayed as over the top. It was subtle and it was kind of glazed over, but I think that's really important because it's important to note that that is still racism.
Yeah.
Just because it's not outwardly screaming slurs, there were still plenty of racist behaviors, especially from Mr. Reed, who's the most powerful man.
He was the worst.
The most powerful man in his story, and he knows that he can get away with whatever the fuck he wants, not only because he is white, but also because he is a man. He's got everything working for him. He's rich. He's powerful.
And he was like an interesting character to me too, because he definitely like respected Birdie and like Fiona, but I just think that his mannerisms, closed doors. Yeah, he's just like, well, no, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just so ingrained in him that like when he says something, he doesn't think he's being offensive. Like he just is like, well, I can just, you know.
Yeah, he's like, well, I can just say whatever I want. There's no consequences.
But I would know, like, and he definitely, it is behind closed doors, like his respect.
He specifically lets Birdie know when he's coming so that no one else will be there. Yeah. And he doesn't basically want anyone else to see him having such a good camaraderie with these women,
which is like such a complex character, because it's like he's still an asshole and I don't like him, but I can appreciate that he knows like how stupid it is that like he has to like be like this, you know, and that he can like respect them to an extent.
That's the key, to an extent, because at the end of the day, he would sell them out for a fucking penny.
I mean, he basically does. He basically does.
And the way that he treats Joab's brother, and, you know, basically like, oh, you work for me.
Yes.
So you don't have your own life. You don't have your own existence without me.
Yeah. He's definitely kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, because he kind of comes off as like this nice guy and like kind of like easygoing, but once like you cross him or make it seem like you're better than him, he definitely is like rips that off, and he's like, all right.
Oh, and the Reeds are very good at maintaining this image of you know, being the perfect community family, being the perfect, you know, married couple. When he's not at the opera house, she's like, oh, it's because he's at home just like going through all of our donations and tending to like no, he's out there getting drunk as fuck and playing cards and using racial slurs. And obviously Birdie and Fiona just have to go along with it, because not only is he giving them money, he runs the town, and they know that it's dangerous to question him. There's also a lot of slurs in here about Indigenous people, which I obviously won't repeat, but those are never talked about or revisited, and we don't actually meet any Indigenous characters. So I thought that was a little weird.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of forgotten about. Fiona is the one who is the most outwardly affected by racism, which is surprising because you would think that it would be Adelaide.
Yeah.
But with Mr. Reed's comments and then Mrs. Reed's comments about supporting the other laundry business because it's run by an American.
Yeah.
And the racism with Bertie and Adelaide is definitely expressed more in their internal monologue.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are acknowledging how situations would look with them and other white people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would someone say if they showed up and they saw this, or how would they feel coming to, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's not actually brought up by other characters.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
And most importantly, this book is obviously about the power of women and their perseverance and survival instincts.
Actually, wait, I think I put, what did I write for my, because I finished it and I like went to Goodreads and I think I put, what was my, my only thing in the review, I really just love a book about the resilience of women.
Hell yes. And that's what this is. So
yeah.
I want to read a little excerpt from, did you read the acknowledgments at the end of the book?
I did.
So the author consulted with his wife, as he should, about what should happen to the women in the end, and this is what they said. I asked her, should some of the lone women die? If so, how many? Which ones? Emily responded, none of the above. Women are losing enough in the real world these days. I want the lone women to win.
Yep.
And he responded, it would be a happy ending, but boy, would they go through a lot to get there. That seemed right to me. Here's to hard-won happy endings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mad this was in the acknowledgments. This was the best part of the whole book. Like, it's just so important. And I know we talk about this a lot on the podcast, but feminism has been kind of criminalized as this radical and dirty word. But caring about other women and thinking that women deserve rights is feminism. Recognizing that women are capable of amazing things and capable of independence is feminism. And if we're constantly tearing each other down, society tears us down enough. We need to uplift and support each other. And the fact is that women are so resilient because we're constantly fighting against the patriarchy, constantly fighting against a patriarchal society, and even more so with our current administration. And we still kick ass every day.
Yep.
We still get shit done, and we still keep fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's obviously the biggest message of this book, is that the lone women are hyper aware of their situations at all times. They are aware of the danger they're in. They're aware that they have to make the right move. They have to say the right thing. But at the end of the day, they are so much more powerful than any of the other horrible people in this book. And that whole message of the homestead and how this, this woman wrote this article about how she was able to successfully homestead and survive and be successful, is like, they embody that in so many different ways. Even though they hit a couple bumps along the way. But I mean, Elizabeth, what can you do?
No, I think that actually my favorite part of the entire book was the ending, and that they created this community for other lone women, and that eventually just became a village of women who are alone or have been through it. And it's just, they went through so much to even, in such a short period of time, they went through so much just to like get to this point. And it was just a really inspiring read in that aspect, that, and especially coming from a male author, like, we've talked about this again, like so many times, like how some male authors write women and they kind of make it like degrading. And I felt like every female character that he wrote, there wasn't any faults, like that were
even
pointed
Mrs.
out.
Reed, who was the most horrible person ever. It's like he still gave her the development and the background to understand why she is the way she is.
Yeah, like I think that the way that he wrote every single character was just, I wasn't upset by any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't feel like, oh, great, like, this is just, you know, toxic masculinity, and here he is being a misogynist. I'm like, oh, no, like, this dude is, like, writing women in real time. And
like
not
this,
yeah, like, he's a male author that I will now read. Like, I will read his
100%.
stuff, you know?
Yeah, and I think also, I didn't really get into it, but there's also this kind of lesson about these women, especially like you said at the end, they're in their own little kind of community. They're able to learn so much from each other. And I think originally that stems from not jealousy, but a kind of like, you always want what you don't have, or you want what others have. And it's like Fiona was so desperate to have a family. She was so desperate to even find her dad's grave, her dad who she didn't even know. And meanwhile, Adelaide is like, I would have traded my family any day of the week. And it's like, it's so hard to understand where other people are coming from. But once they started respecting each other, and these women definitely respected each other, they could totally see each other's point of view. Like, there's always that initial judgment, like especially Birdie, when, like I said, when she found out about Elizabeth, and she's like, how could they do that, and blah, blah, blah. And after that initial judgment, when they stop and think like, oh my gosh, now imagine what you were going through. Imagine what Elizabeth, like, they're just able to see it from so many different aspects. And I think obviously that's something that women excel at more than men. Yeah. Among many things.
Yeah. And I just think that it's kind of impossible to not judge someone upon initial, you know, meetings, or when you're learning to get to know somebody. And I think that, and I think that what I also loved about like the ending is that these women were all accepted by like Elizabeth, and she kind of became like their protector. And that in itself is kind of a beautiful thing.
She became like the center of their community.
Literally. And it's there's a small theme of acceptance in that too, that you have all these people who are met with something that's different, and they're immediately accepting it. You know, they're not casting judgment, like you said. They're not being like, you can't do this, you know, et cetera, et cetera. They're just very much like, okay, you know, I'm broken and battered, and I'm alone. And if this is what I need, if this is the community that I need, and it's run by a monster, like, okay, this is a safer place than what I was dealing with.
100%.
So,
like, this is the monster we know.
Yeah.
The monster over there in the white man's body is the scarier one. And along with that acceptance, there's definitely that kind of message of forgiveness, and also how relationships can change if people are willing to kind of put in the work and also acknowledge. Like, obviously Adelaide had to let Elizabeth know why and how, you know, how she felt, and apologize and blah, blah, blah. And then now they have a relationship, whatever that means. We don't know what that means as far as like their communication, but she was live able together and have their community together.
Yeah. Adelaide was able to acknowledge and accept her faults and admit what she did wrong and seek forgiveness. And that makes Adelaide a bigger person, you know, in that aspect.
All right. Anything else that we missed before we discuss our ratings? Okay. So our rating scale is horses named Obadiah.
Oh, Obadiah.
Poor Obadiah.
R.I.P.
Yeah. What the fuck? They didn't go into detail. That's okay.
I mean, he did get like ripped in half.
He did get ripped in half, but it was quick. He didn't feel a thing, poor guy. And he trotted when he had to.
Yeah, he did. I gave it 4 Obadiahs.
Okay.
I really liked it. I had no idea what I was going into. And then when I saw like on the cover, it was like, oh, he was the author of The Changeling. And I was like, isn't that the Angelina Jolie movie that came out in like early 2000? And I was like, wait, he's a horror writer? I was like, oh, this is totally 2 different things.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, not the same thing. Remotely not the same thing. But I didn't know what to expect going into it. I have never read anything by him, so this was kind of like an introduction to an author that I now like, and that I would definitely read his stuff. And especially knowing at the top of the episode his mental health struggles, and it's kind of like the equivalent of like when we covered Midnight Library with Matt Haig. Like, I love a man that can just admit when he's struggling and can put that into their writing. So it was an interesting story. Like, I know it's like I know it's a kind of like a horror suspense or horror mystery, and it's I like that. Like, I think this is I like this genre of horror. I think that I could like get behind this.
Yeah, it's definitely very like horror light, because they have several different kinds of horror. There's obviously the creature horror, and then there were spirits and ghosts and stuff. But it wasn't over the top. There didn't really go into detail in any of the horror. So I was in between. Originally, I was like 3.5 because I have some issues, which I'll get into. But I am also giving this 4 Obadiahs because I did love the messages, and I loved the ending, and I loved the characters, and there was so much about it that I loved. I did think, like, part 1 was chronological, and then parts 2 and 3 just turned into a hot mess. They were like jumping to different characters, indiscriminate time frames, and there were so many loose ends.
Oh yeah.
Where's the newspaper guy? What the fuck was his deal? Where did the Mudges go when they disappeared in the middle of the night? Why was Sam a girl? Why did Joab have this epiphany? What happened with Sam's dad? We never get details about what happened with Sam's dad. Would have loved to hear that. What was Elizabeth's final form? Anyway, normally I can be okay with a few plot holes, especially in horror novels, but there wasn't enough horror for me.
Yeah, I can get that. I can understand
that. I didn't find this scary at all. I would have liked some even details about like that final scene where
I agree. Like, it was definitely like very like you could see that there was kind of like a sinister aspect to the story, but it never crossed the line of being too much.
It's kind of like how you talk about closed door romances.
Yeah.
This is a closed door horror book. I don't know if that's a thing, but it was.
It is. No, I mean, like, I feel like it has to be. Because even like the whole scene, like where Elizabeth gets out and she's just kind of chilling under the bed. And, you know, Adelaide's like, all right, I'm going to like sleep. Like you said, like, I'm just going to chill. Like, you were kind of like, I was like, it was almost like it's like a fucking like pet. And the pet's just like hiding, and I was like, okay, so there's not really,
or like an insolent child. You're just like whatever. I'm just gonna take a nap.
Yeah, because like the September house, like that creeped me out. Like, you know, like hidden
but
pictures,
that went into
that
detail.
Creeped me out. Like, yeah, you know what I mean. This was just very much like, I think it is like a closed door horror. It's kind of like take with it what you will.
Exactly, and I think a few extra scenes would have really like made it that horror for me, but I really liked the author's writing.
I did too.
And I mean, we already talked about, I love the way that he wrote women, which is like our number one criteria for male writers. And I definitely wouldn't be opposed to more from him, especially because his other books have like a lot more acclaim and like have won these awards and blah, blah, and whatever. But I just really wanted a little more from this one.
Yeah.
So it definitely is adding an author to my list, and I would definitely recommend this one. But I had issues. I always have issues, you know.
Would it be a podcast if we didn't have issues?
Certainly wouldn't.
Show me a book that we don't have some problem with, even if we give it 5 stars.
Every book we've written 5 stars, we're like, please stay tuned to the end, because we just ripped this book apart, but we loved it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why we're here. We're not just going to gush about the story. We got to dive into it. And alas, we did. Anyway, moral of the story is
women kick ass.
Women should rule the world. But we don't want men in our world, so that's the problem. We can let a few select in, but they have to go through a vetting process. Anyway, I'm going to get fucking hate crimed over here for like saying that I want to destroy all the men. Okay, let's get off of here before we get out of control.
Let me jump off my I hate men soapbox.
All right, that's all we have for you today. If you like what you heard, please make sure to follow, subscribe, and rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're using. If you have any book recommendations or questions for us, you can email us at fullybookedcalfpod@gmail.com. Also, be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at fullybookedcalfpod to see our upcoming reads. Thanks for checking us out, and remember,
if you need us, we're fully booked.
bye!
Bye!